right, let me just kind of summarize here the question, which is building a 5-period range, or you could say a 5-bar range. And I'm using the Donnchian Channel to identify a 5-bar range. So it's a Donnchian Channel with a 5-period, and it's telling me the highest high and the lowest lows, right, within a 5-bar look-back period. And so what we're trying to do is essentially catch pullbacks. So we're using, in this case, a 20-period EMA. And of course, this EMA is subjective to whatever you prefer as your trend filter. But you want some kind of trend filter in place. And then we're catching pullbacks to, so like for a long trade, we're catching a pullback to the previous 5 bars low. So for a long trade, so if our trend is up, we'd be looking for a long trade, and we want to get into that trade on the low of the last 5 bars. And over here, so we can see our trend is down now, so we would want to sell at the high of the last 5 bars. So, and well, even though there'd be a signal, of course, there's no guarantee that that would get filled because it only got touched. So, all right, so it's a 2-parter here. So today will be the BloodHound part, and I'm thinking I could even do this in Raven, but we can also implement this in BlackBird tomorrow as well. So, all right, so let me get started here. All right, so let's open up BloodHound with the button on top here. And the first thing we want to do is put a file name in. All right, so I'll just put in today's date here. All right, so there's today's date for the workshop. And let's see, I'm just going to start working on the logic tab in the logic board. And so let's create a new logic template here. And let's see what to call this. All right, something like that. All right, it's a good enough name. Let's see. All right, so let's take care of the easy stuff first. You know, it always, when you're building something, doing the easy stuff first always at least helps you get started, right? So the easy thing is our simple trend filter, which is this 20-period EMA, right? And we just want to go with the slope of that 20-period EMA. So let's grab ourselves a slope solver here. All right, we'll connect that up to our result node. Let's give this a name here. So this is an EMA 20 slope. And next, let's go swap. So let's replace the default SMA with the EMA. So click the button, and let's go find that EMA. There it is. All right, we can double click or use the Add New button. We get our EMA down here. Next thing is to adjust the period, 20 period. Okay, so yeah, there we go. And so we can see that just this one slope solver here, right? It's giving us a long output when the EMA is sloping up. And of course, when the EMA is sloping down, it's giving us this short output down here. So this is just acting as a trend filter here. So those aren't the signals yet. All right, so I can set that off. And the next, the trigger of the trade is when, let me grab an arrow here, is when price pulls back to our indicator, right to our Donnchian channel here. So that's the actual trade trigger, like that. So, and we can actually see that, and now we can actually see that this would not have actually triggered a trade. So, right, I think probably it's hard to tell in real time, but in real time, it looks like our EMA would have been sloping down just enough that it would have missed taking this trade here. And probably, yeah, this one as well. Because in real time, as price was down here, the EMA still would have been sloping down. So there would have been no long entry there either. But yeah, it could be maybe this 20 EMA is a little too short of a period, but we can adjust that if we're not getting any signals. We'll adjust that later here.
Yeah, just put it on an 8 range bar instead, Zach. I think that would even it out.
Okay, we'll do 8 range bar. All right. Okay, let me clear out the graphics here. There we go. 8 range. All right, so let me take a look and see if I can find some more signals. Ah, great. There we go. That's a definite long signal there.
All of those are longs. Every time it pulls back to a 5-bar low, that's a signal and live. So the first pullback right there.
Right, but it didn't touch it.
You're gonna give it some cushion. You're gonna give it a couple of ticks, like 2 ticks from off that low.
Oh, okay. So we want to add 2 ticks off.
Give it like 2 ticks.
Okay, will do. Let's see here. Okay, so there's at least 2. And here. All right, there's another one. There's another one. All right, so we have a few here to work with. That's enough for now. All right, so let's get BloodHound back open and continue working on here. All right, so we have a slight adjustment here. So instead of waiting for price to actually pull back and touch the Donnchian channel, we're going to make the entry trigger 1 or 2 ticks above. So how about if I'll just start off with 1 tick above it. So this one, yeah, we'll start off with 1 tick above it, and if need be, we can adjust this to 2 ticks above. So, all right. So the next question is, what solver do we use, as our triggering mechanism when price makes this pullback to our entry level, right, to our entry price. So that is going to be a comparison solver. So we're comparing price, right? So we're comparing the market price in real time to the indicator value. So we're going to take the indicator value and either add 2 ticks, or if we're looking for a short, we'll take the upper channel and subtract 2 ticks, right? And so we're waiting for price to penetrate, right, the 1 or 2 tick offset from the upper channel or the lower channel. So we want a comparison solver. So again, we're comparing price to the indicator value. So let's plug that in there. And let's give this a name here. right, just abbreviate that name a little bit. All right, so we're looking for price to get within 1 tick of the Donnchian channel. And let me get this open a little bit there. All right, so the first component is price. So input A, that's going to be, we're going to put price in input A, and then input B will be our indicator here. So for input A, we want price, so let's change the type to price. There we go. And we want the closing price. So in NinjaTrader, the close price is also the same as the last price. And so as price is ticking up and down, NinjaTrader considers that real-time price as the closing price as well. So that is the real-time price is the closing price when, so I do need to make an adjustment here. So when our indicator has, let's see here, calculate on bar close set to false. All right, so since this is a real-time since this signal is required in real time, actually maybe it's not required in real time. So I'm just kind of thinking if we really need to run BloodHound in real time.
I think you do, Zach. Let's try it first with false.
Yeah, I think so as well. Yeah, it's always better if we can run with COBC, this calculate on bar close set to true. That's always better. Makes things less complicated, but
let's try it this way, and then if you need to adjust it, we can change that back to true. Okay, thanks.
Okay. Yeah, so we'll go with false. All right. So there we go. So we had to make that adjustment to BloodHound. So that way we're getting the real-time, right, the real-time market price that we're working with, right? So we're working with the bar that's building now. Instead of waiting for the bar to close, we're working with the bar that's building. All right. So let's continue setting up our comparison solver. All right, so we have the price set up, our closing price. So with calculate on bar close set to false now, that's going to be the real-time market price of the bar that's building. All right, and so then next we need to set up our indicator here. So let's go find the Donnchian channel. There it is, and adjust our period to 5, like so. And now we need to figure out, okay, what plots do we want to use here? So we're taking, as we look at our chart here, right, we're taking long trades off of the lower channel. So we're going to set the lower channel for long signals, and the opposite is going to be true for short trades. So we're using the upper channel for initiating short trades. So the upper channel for shorts. There we go. Okay. Now, next thing. Remember, we adjusted the rules a little bit, so we actually wanted a 1 tick offset from the lower channel and upper channel. So let's go put that one tick in there, like so. We're going to change our distances, both our distances like that. So, all right, now we need to double check our outputs here. So, let's analyze what's happening here. Okay, so what is happening in real time? So price is coming down, and let me get rid of this dot here. So we need a little line here to kind of help visualize what's going on. Okay, so there's a line, right? So this white line is one tick above our Donnchian channel. So, well, actually, let's not use this one yet because this requires a 2 tick. So let's switch over here.
Just make it a 2-tick entry. That would be fine. It's no big deal.
Oh, I'm gonna do both here, actually, Julie. Okay. Yeah. So let's switch over here. All right. So as price comes up, so this is for a short trade. So what's happening for a short trade? Price is coming up, and it is actually price is going above our 1 tick offset, right? Price is going above. So for a short trade, price is going to be greater than our indicator's offset, right? Price is going to be greater than the price level we're looking for. And in a short trade situation, so let's say if we were using a 2 tick offset here. So for a long trade, if we switch and use a 2 tick offset, so what's happening? Price is coming down and price is going below our offset. For a long trade, price is going below, or price is less. In other words, price is less than our offset price, right? So the white line is our offset price, but in real time, price needs to go below or less than, right, our offset price. So what does that mean to our outputs? Well, remember, so A is the market price, B is our indicator, right? B is our indicator. So B is our indicator with the offset. So for a long, A actually has to be less than B, right? So remember the white line, that's B, which is our indicator with an offset. A is price in real time. So we actually need to switch our outputs here so that A, price, is less than B, which is our indicator, right? B is our indicator, A is the market price. So let's adjust that. Let's make that adjustment. And 99% of the time, when you change your long outputs, most of the time, you also have to change your short outputs. So, and this is one of those times as well. Okay, so there we go. And I'm going to make an adjustment here so that we can actually see the signals historically. So we can see that historically. So if we look at what's going on here, so for a long trade, the low of the bar, right, the low of the bar is below. And for a short trade, the high of the bar is above. So instead of actually using the closing price, if I want to see historical signals, I can switch to the low and the high, like so. And I'm expecting some signals, which I'm not seeing yet. Let's see. Okay, I'm gonna make an adjustment here. If I switch to 2 ticks. Let me just check my plots here.
Zach?
Yes.
That's why I use Chameleon and set my look back to 5 bars on that look back place on Chameleon on the high low. That's why I use Chameleon instead of a Donnchian. But wouldn't you want to put the 5 period look back here, right there, 5? Change that to 5 on your look back.
5 on the look back for price.
Yeah, because you're going 5 bar instead of a 1 bar.
No, this would use the price if I change the look back period for price. What that's going to do is here. Let's go to real time here. All right, so this is bar 1. That's bar 1, and this would be bar 2, and so on and so forth. So if I change this look back period to 5.
No, I'm talking about your Donnchian channel. Oh, you do have it on there. I see it. You have it on your Donnchian channel. That's where I wanted it.
Oh, yeah, yes. The Donnchian channel is a period of 5. Correct.
Yeah. Okay.
Sorry. So, yeah.
Try displacement of 1 on your Donnchian also.
No, displacement's not necessary, but that actually is a good point. Which is, since BloodHound is running with calculon bar close true, we should also adjust our indicators to do the same. So that, because, all right, so for everyone else here, right, so BloodHound is set to calculon bar close set to false, which means BloodHound's running on this bar, the bar that's building, but we can see our indicators aren't extended forward onto the bar that's building, right? So we're seeing old data, and BloodHound's not working with that old data. BloodHound's working with data on the bar that's building. So let's adjust our indicators so that we can see on the chart what BloodHound is seeing as well. So there we go. We'll set our EMA with calculon bar close, set that to false. And let's take the Donnchian channel, set our calculon bar close, set that to false as well. There. Okay. Yeah, so there we go. So that does make a difference, for sure. Yeah, let's see here.
Go back to that trending spot where the slope of the EMA is moving up. So you just clearly want to see a higher high and a higher low first, and so you would take that first low pullback where your green arrows at sitting about 953. There, that first green arrow. Yeah, that's the spot.
Yeah. I'm just trying to see what I'm missing here, because I should be seeing some signals. So let's see. Oh, gee whiz. Okay. Yeah, obvious mistake. So let's see. Okay, so here's why we're not seeing any signals. So we want either a 2-tick or a 1-tick offset, but the offset is to the inside. And but what's happening is the way the difference is working is the offset is actually going to the outside. So instead of the offset being up there, it's actually going down there. Yeah, so let's see.
Hey Zach, why don't you try putting A equal B within 2 ticks? I'll put a 1 in the middle. A equals B within 2 ticks. Try putting a 1 in that middle slot also.
Yeah, correct. Right.
Okay.
Yeah, I was thinking about reversing price and the indicator, but that would be the easy answer right there.
Right there.
So
That's it. And so you would only take the long signal there, and you would take the short signal there, just like it is, just like it's set up. But I would put that 21 EMA filter on there, and that would knock out those shorts, and you'd only get that one long signal.
Well, yeah, and keep in mind these are not the signals because it's only just this one solver here.
Well, but it would signal once it yeah, that's exactly right. Your signal would be live, and then
Well,
put the AND node in, it will filter those shorts out, and you'll only see that one long one. Beautiful. That's it.
Yep.
Perfect.
Yep.
That's it.
So yeah, just so
you identified your 2-tick range for your offset, so it has to be inside that. So that would be the equals, not above or below it. So it's got the equal one. That's the one it is. Beautiful.
Yep.
And that way, we're buying the low in an uptrend and with a very minimal risk. And you can decide whether you want to place it behind, tuck it behind that swing low, the previous one, maybe, or a 10 bar higher low, or whatever you want to do is try to find a pivot higher low around there. But test that in your BlackBird tomorrow on even a more sophisticated system. But you can see other filters like a 50 or 200 EMA on top of this may help fine-tune these even better for you. But that's the gist exactly right there. Buy low, sell high, and on these pullbacks in a live condition. And then using like a direction guide or a market analyzer as a guidepost for taking trades. So short risk, much greater reward. That's what I want 2018 to be all about. Thank you, Zach.
Yeah. All right. Good advice. All right. Yeah, you bet. Okay. So there is our set of signals with a 1-tick offset. All right. So there we go. So we're getting there. And as I had mentioned earlier, I was going to set this up so it's for a 1-tick or a 2-tick. All right, so we can easily kind of test both ideas really easily. So let's name this AND node here. All right, so what's coming out of this AND node is a 1-tick offset, right? And that's because of this comparison solver is set up with a 1-tick offset. Now, what I can do is I can make a copy of this, and the copy I can change it to a 2-tick offset, and then we can quickly make two different signals, right? One with a 1-tick offset, and the other one with a 2-tick offset. So let's do this by switching over to the Solvers tab, and then I can select the solver, make a copy, like so, and I'm going to change the name. So this comparison solver is going to be set up with a 2-tick offset. So that way we'll get more signals. like so. That's all we need to do is make that simple adjustment. And then I can switch back to the logic tab. Now, under our solver nodes, I can go to existing nodes, right? And there's that new solver I just made with price with a 2-tick, right, a 2-tick offset to the Donnchian channel. And what I'll do is I'll set that down here. I will grab another AND node, take this AND node down here, and I can take our basically our trend filter, and then our 2-tick offset comparison. And now this AND node, what comes out of that is a 2-tick offset signals that only that with a 2-tick offset. And if I switch, let's see here. So let's see if we can visually see how much of a difference this makes. So I'm just going to squish everything up here. So there's 1 tick, and there's 2 tick. Well, yeah, in this case it didn't seem to make any difference, but I'm sure it will in some cases. Let's see here. Yeah. Let me just double check my solver. Yeah, that's set to 1 tick. This one's set to 2 tick. All right, well, I'm just not finding any spots where this makes a difference. Oh, there we go. Finally found one. So if we look right there, and that we do get a signal there that I marked with 2 ticks, and if I switch to 1 tick, it goes away. So we can see that makes a difference every once in a while. All right, but also keep in mind that with the 1 tick, let's see, I have the 1 tick. I have the 1 tick connected here. Let me stretch this back out and zoom back in again so we can see what's happening. All right, so our AND node with the 1 tick. Now, this is 1 tick, but if we look at the solver outputs, right, it says A equals B within 1 tick. So if we zoom into some of these signals here, let me see if I can find one. Actually, yeah, perfect right there. So back to this bar here. Let me zoom way in. Back to this bar here. Right, we can see price just touched it. So just because we get a signal doesn't mean you're going to get guaranteed to get a fill, right? So just keep that in mind. So the signals that we're seeing are just identifying, right, are identifying bars that where price at least touched our 1 tick, offset, right? So it doesn't guarantee that. It doesn't guarantee a fill. Okay, so let's take the next step here. So we have some signals in place. And we'll actually, let's go, for the sake of testing, make things a little simpler. Instead of putting the 1 tick and the 2 tick all in the same logic template here, what I'm going to do, I'll break it up into 2 logic templates here. All right, so let's see. So this logic template will have the 1 tick offset signal, And if I make a copy of this, right, so we have the copy button right there. I can make a copy of this. And so that now we can see we have 2 logic templates now, right? So I'll take the copy and adjust that to 2 tick. And what I'll do is erase that and that, connect that up. All right, so we have a logic template with a 1 tick pullback, right? And I can go in and delete those solvers there, unused, like so. So now we have 2 logic templates, one with a 1 tick pullback, the other one with a 2 tick pullback, and that'll just make things a little easier for us when we're testing in Raven or BlackBird. And all right, so next step. Okay, so this is for those who just have BloodHound. Our next step is we'll pull up Raven and get some testing going in Raven here.
Before you do that,
yes.
Can we make one more copy? And the second prong is going to require, once this condition is met, so you've got your condition, then the second copy would require a bar close in the direction of the trend. So you're going to require a 1 bar close after this trigger. So that would prevent failures.
Okay. Yeah, so let's make a copy of that. So this is going to require, okay, a bar. All right. Let's see. Okay, there we go. So we want a bar to close. All right. And so if we're wanting a bar to close, really this should just be running with COBC set to true. That would be the better way to do this. So.
Hold on, Jack. Before you change CBOC, we can just do an end node and add a bar close to it and leave the other one alive, because you're going to need to leave it on false because one of the other solvers requires it to be false. So don't change the CBOC, just add a bar direction solver to this.
No, none of the solvers requires COBC to be false. This can all run with COBC true.
Okay.
So, and the way I know that is because we're seeing signals historically. So remember, the way NinjaTrader works is everything historical is always calculate and bar close true. NinjaTrader cannot calculate historical data with COBC false. So the fact that we're getting signals means that this actually is working with COBC true. And for the sake of your computer's processing power, it's always better to run calculate and bar close true when possible. So I'm going to suggest that this third system be run with COBC true. And then the others, I'll just make a little note here that these should be false.
Beautiful. Super. Thanks, Sarah.
You bet. All right, so let me go in and finish editing all the names here. Okay, there we go. So you can see now I just edited all the names of these logic templates here. All right, now let's get back to, let's see here. Yeah, let's get back to this third one here. So this is a 2-tick pullback, and the bar has to close. And we want the bar in the direction of the signal. So, for example, let's find an example. Well, there we go. This would be one. So this would be an up bar. This would get knocked out, right? This is a down bar, so there would be no signal there. There would be a signal here. This is an up bar. That's an up bar. This would get filtered out because that's a down bar. So, so to add that filter, we just simply want a bar direction. We want a bar direction solver. And we'll just connect that in there like that. There. So, yeah. And I'm just going to switch these around here. So remember our comparison solver, that's actually the kind of, I coined this, this solver here is actually doing the trade trigger, right? This is the main condition that actually fires off the signal, and the EMA slope is just a trend filter, and the bar direction is also a filter as well, right? It's just a bar direction filter, a trend filter, and this is the actual kind of trade trigger. So, and I usually have a habit of putting my trade triggers on top because it's usually the most important, and then filters I usually put on the bottom down there. So it's just a matter of preference. So what doesn't really matter. It's just whatever you prefer. So, yeah.
So see, Zach, the system's built so that the answer is you're entering at the bottom, at the very, very bottom, and then by the time this signal occurs, this could be your first profit target exit.
Well, but Julie, you just said you wanted to wait for the bar to close, so we can't. How do we get in?
There was going to be two going at the same time. Never mind. This is perfect. This is beautiful. You have the 3 different solvers.
Okay.
Yeah, no, this is perfect. This is a separate entry or exit, however you want to use it.
Gotcha. Right. Yeah, they're all separated into 3. So, yeah, if you're wanting to get.
This is perfect.
Yeah, if you want to get 2 orders going at the same time, right, we'd have to take. Yeah, we'd have to make some modifications. Yeah, that would definitely. So, what Julie was suggesting is, so we're taking the original setup here, right, which occurs in real time. So we need COBC faults. So we would get. Let's see here. Let's go back to this signal here. Let me shrink the chart up again. Let's focus in on this bar. So what was just mentioned is that one order would get entered in real time. Right there as price pulls back, right? Pulls back to our 2-tick offset. And then a second order would go in after the bar closes. So we would wait, we'd wait for the bar to close, and then essentially, depending on what we wanted to do, we could either get, that object's a little too big, depending on what we wanted to do. So with this would definitely require BlackBird, but we could set a limit order and try and get filled at the previous bar's closing price, or we could just go in at a market and get filled a little higher. So, well, on range bars, we definitely would get filled up here. So one order could go in real time, and then the second order waits for the bar to close, and we could either go in at a market or a limit order. So, and that would excuse me, that would require BlackBird. So if we wanted to do that, let's make a fourth one here. Let's see here. All right, so I'm going to take, I'm going to take our third logic template here, and I'm going to make a copy of it. Actually, no, we don't need a fourth one. Since this is required since only BlackBird can place these two separate orders with different signals. Actually, so let me delete this. Yeah, so in BlackBird, tomorrow we'll have to set BlackBird up, and we'll set up in BlackBird we'll set up two separate order sets that will use two different BloodHound signals here. Yeah, two different BloodHound signals. So, all right, yeah, so we'll just leave it at that for now. All right, let's get back. Okay, let's go back to Raven. So, for those folks who just have BlackBird, who just have BloodHound, sorry. Let's pull this up in Raven so we can demonstrate how to kind of test this in Raven here. All right, so let's go into our strategies. And there's Raven. So let's add that down there. And let's see. So since BloodHound is required to have calculate on bar close set to false, Raven also has to run false as well. And let's see. Before I get ahead of myself, let me switch my data feed here so that way I can control the market. So let's disconnect Kinetic, and I'll connect to the simulated data feed. That way we can force some trade signals to happen. All right, so now let's get back into setting up Raven. There we go. Let's see. All right, so let's load our template. Okay, so there's today's BloodHound template. And I always say when you're working with Raven, whatever BloodHound signals you're trading, it's always a good idea to take a look at your entry signals and just make sure everything's connected correctly, right? Sometimes things are disconnected or things are not connected correctly due to some testing. You're testing your ideas and you're connecting this and that, and sometimes things are left or sometimes you can leave your leaders connected wrong, incorrectly. So it's always good to make sure all your leaders looks like everything's connected correctly, right? Just a nice, it's a good safeguard. So, all right, so that looked good. So I'm just going to pick an entry signal here. So we'll use the 2-tick pullback. And let's see. So we'll get in with a market order. Just to make sure that we get filled, we'll have to go in with a market order. Raven is not capable of entering with a limit order on this system because all limit orders are based off of the closing price of the bar. Right? So Raven is very simplistic in its design and limit orders. So this limit offset from entry, is based on the closing price of the bar, right? But this system actually would put a limit order based on the Donnchian channel, right? So realistically for this system, we'd want a limit order either at our 1-tick or 2-tick offset from the Donnchian channel. But Raven doesn't do limit order offsets from indicators. That's what BlackBird's all about. So Raven wouldn't be able to do a limit order for this particular system. So we'll leave the use limit orders. We'll leave that defaults. So we're going to be submitting market orders. Let's see here. Let's check some of these other settings. Actually, here's an important one. So remember, since Raven is running with this calculator bar close set defaults, it is possible to get multiple entries. So this allow re-entry on same bar, we want to keep this on false. That's important. So we definitely don't want Raven getting into the trade, getting stopped out, getting back into the trade, getting stopped out, and getting back into the trade, all on the same bar, right? So we want one trade per bar. So we're going to allow re-entries on same bar. We're going to leave that on false. So just leave that on its default there. Let's see here. Some of the other settings. Enter only when flat. We can leave that alone. We'll leave that on false. Start auto-enabled. We'll leave that on false as well. Show chart trader. Yeah, we want to show the chart trader. And actually, let's see. Yeah, we were wanting to do some back testing on this. So we do actually need to start auto-enabled. We need to turn that to true so that backtesting mode is available to us. Right, so you see now backtesting mode is now visible. If I set this to false again, backtest mode disappears. So start auto-enabled needs to be set to true so we can do some backtesting. Let's see.
Just do an 8-tick profit target on a 4-tick stop to start out.
Okay, sure. You bet. Let's see. Yeah, we're on an 8 range bar. So our profit target, as suggested, we'll set that to 8 ticks. And actually, I had mentioned earlier that I would use an ATR so that our profit targets and stop loss will basically self-adjust when you're using a range bar, right? An ATR self-adjusts to the range of that bar. So if we want a 1 bar length profit target, that's a 1 ATR. And the stop loss, as suggested, was 4 ticks, so that would be half a bar or 0.5 ATR. There we go. So with this set to ATR, what that does is we can change the bar size, and then our profit target and stop loss will adjust automatically. Our profit target and stop loss will scale up and down automatically with the size of the bar. So, all right, I think that should do it. Last step, always remember with strategies, you have to enable strategies. So let's enable it, and away we go. And let me turn the plot executions on here. There we go. And let me stretch this out. All right, you'll notice we have two bloodhounds on here, right? And so if you take a look, I hope Ninja fixes this sometime soon. Yeah, I can't draw on there anymore. Okay, anyways, if you follow my mouse, you'll see the top one says Bloodhound, right? So this top one, this is Bloodhound as the indicator. And the bottom one, you'll notice it says Raven. So the Bloodhound on the bottom is actually coming from Raven. So Raven is adding Bloodhound to our chart. So that's kind of why we have two of them here. So they're both not necessary. If we want, we can remove the Bloodhound as an indicator. We can remove that from the chart if we want to. But I'm just going to leave it on for convenience sake. I'll just shrink it down. All right, so let's take a look at some of these historical back tests. Now, so this is going to be a lesson of how a synopsis of how NinjaTrader does its back testing, right? So we got a signal on this bar, but if you noticed, there is no entry on that bar, right? And remember, this is a real-time system here. So the entry is actually supposed to be on the bar of the signal. But NinjaTrader is not capable of backtesting as if the system is running in real time. So, so I kind of had to take you the long way around to show that backtesting on a historical chart is not possible with NinjaTrader for a system that runs in real time, right? So if we notice, we got a signal on this bar, but no entry. What does NinjaTrader do? It assumes that actually your entry took place on the next bar at the bar open, right? So that really skews the whole backtesting process.
On the bar close, so you have another solver for that, right, Zach?
No, it's on the
bar close.
No, NinjaTrader does not do the bar close. It does on the bar open when it's a market order. So Raven, as I showed earlier, Raven's only capable of, for this system, Raven's only capable of submitting a market order for this system. So we would need BlackBird in order to submit a limit order at the correct price. So Raven's submitting a market order, and NinjaTrader submits market orders at the open of the next bar. All right, so this was the bar with the signal. This is the bar with the signal, and then NinjaTrader, since it was a market entry, NinjaTrader puts that entry at the open of the next bar. All right, you bet. So bottom line, with Raven and with NinjaTrader, this system, this real-time system isn't back testable, right? Even with BlackBird, actually, this system is not going to be back testable either.
It's just a tick or two away from it, so it's not like it's a mile away. It's only like a tick or two. So
sure. My suggestion though is that I would consider this a scalping system. So in a scalping system, a tick or two can mean huge profits or losses. But it is up to the trader to decide if a tick or two makes that much of a difference. But yeah, very true. Okay, so with back testing not really being all that accurate, we could say, let's focus on doing some real-time trades here. So you probably noticed a minute ago that we actually had an order on. So Raven did actually submit an order in real time. And let's see if I can get Raven to submit another order here. So I think, let's see here. Yes, I think this was the order that took place in real time. And we should get another one here soon. Should get another order coming up here real soon. Oh, no. If we look, our EMA started sloping up. So let me just move the market up. So that way we can get our EMA sloping up here, because our EMA is kind of it's oscillating right now. It's kind of flattening out. So let's get a good trend going. All right, let's see. I think let me just wait for this bar to close, and then we'll pull this back. I'll pull market back, and we'll try and get an entry here, a long entry. Okay, there we go. Let's pull the market back. All right, let me just note, I do see other questions and comments are coming in on the chat board here. So as soon as I get a moment here, I'll look through them and address any questions or comments on this system here. So, but first, let me just kind of get a trade to fire off here. All right, I think we're gonna have to wait one more bar. Okay, well, so yeah. Anyways, there we go. Trade in real time. So, all right, with that, let me just pause the trend there, and let me take a look through the chat. All right, so Bill is using a slope solver with the MACD. And so let's grab a slope solver here. All right. And Bill is playing around with the maximum and minimum slopes here with the MACD. And, he's tried a couple of settings such as 0.3, 0.5, and 1, and he's not noticing any changes to the output of the slope solver. So he's just wanting to know why that would be. So let's connect this slope solver up, and MACD. All right, so just put the name my solver there. Next, let me put the MACD in here. There we go. We'll just use the default periods and settings here. And let's see, Bill was playing around with the actual MACD line, so that's selected for us already. And then, so here's really the question. So he's kind of going like 0.5 and 0.5. Let's see here. Okay, well, let's see. It is working on mine. So it must be the instrument here. Let's see if Bill mentions the instrument he's using. No, he doesn't. Okay, so on the way the MACD is, so let's look at the values for the MACD here. So we're ranging from, so I'm on oil, right? Oil's around 60 bucks, or a value of 60, right? Oil's around a value of 60. And we can see the MACD is ranging from 0 to 0.08, right? MACD hasn't even gotten to 0.1 yet, right? So that MACD has a really low value here, right? Of we got up to 0.08. Now, if I change to, let's see, let's go to the YM. The YM has really high numbers here. So, yeah, let's change to the YM. Remember, when I had my chart on oil, right, oil was in the 60s. And if you remember the MACD values, the MACD value only got to 0.08. Now, my chart is on YM. So what's the value of the YM? Well, it's 25,000, right? 60 for oil versus 25,000 for YM is a huge difference in price. Now, if we look at the MACD, look at the values of the MACD. It's going to 7, right? On oil, the MACD only got to 0.08. But on YM, it's actually getting to 7, right? So that makes, all right, so the value, right, the values that the MACD can get to make a big difference. Can make a big difference when you're working with the slope solver here. So now I put in 0.5 here. You know, some of the other things to check, Bill, is just to check to make sure that you only have one of these outputs selected. Right, if I start filling all these in, then nothing's going to happen here, right? So another thing to check is to, on your outputs, you know, make sure that you're just using the 2 max values here, right? So, or just the 1 max value, right? So that could be one thing, but again, I think really the key of your question is understanding how the max slope and min slope are working. Now, if you notice, they're in ticks, right? Actually, yeah, let me close that out. If you notice, it's actually a value in ticks, right? This is a value in ticks. And, you know, the MACD, realistically, it isn't measuring a value in ticks, right? Because it's not running on price, right? The MACD, its point system, or its value system, right? So right now the MACD is going from 0 to 7, right? We're going all the way down to 7. But this scale, or this value system, really is in points, because the MACD has its own scaling, right? It has its own scaling, so it's really in points. Let's see. Let's get back to BloodHound here. So ticks, what's happening is, if you leave this on ticks, then what's happening is the tick value of the instrument, so the YM, The YM, one tick is the same as 1 point in the YM. Right, so one tick and one point on the YM are the same. So the YM was kind of a bad example. Let's go to the NASDAQ again. The NASDAQ has a high value system. So let's switch over to the NASDAQ. Now, the NASDAQ has 4 ticks per point. Right? But again, the MACD is operating in points, right? Or I should say an indicator that has its own scaling system. So the stochastic has its own scaling system, right? The MACD has its own scaling system, right? Any indicator that runs on its own subpanel has its own scaling system, and therefore it's running in points. But what's happening is that if we're running the MACD on the NQ has 4 ticks per point. So if we're going to use the slope solver, and our slope is in ticks, what are we doing? Basically, we're taking a 1 point on the MACD. So right, this is 1 point on the MACD, and down here we have 2 points on the MACD. And so what the slope solver would be doing, since it's running in ticks, is you're taking this 1 point, and since the NQ has 4 ticks per point, you're actually taking this one point and dividing it into 4 by 4, because the NQ has 4 ticks per point, so the solver would be taking 1 point of the MACD and dividing it by 4. So let's see here. Let me try and kind of give a visual representation here. So there you go. So there's roughly the increments that the slope solver is operating in, right? So there's 1 tick, there's 2 ticks. Actually, let me grab an arrow, right? So that's 1 tick on the MACD, 2 ticks on the MACD, 3 ticks on the MACD, 4 ticks on the MACD, because the NQ is 4 ticks per point, right? And that right there is 1 point on the MACD, right? We can see that right on the side here, the scaling is 1. That is 1 right there. There's the long explanation. The short answer, Bill, is that if you're working with an indicator that has its own scaling, such as the MACD or the stochastics, right? They run on their own subpanel. Easiest thing to do is switch over to points, right? Change the measurement to points. So now you're dealing with slopes, right, in 1 point increments, right? So let's get kind of fancy here. So the red ones are 1 point increments. There we go. And it'll make your point adjustments a little easier. And that now we can see actually 0.5 is too much, way too much. Let's knock this down to 0.1. 0.1. There we go. Okay, 0.1. It's now giving us something here. So, all right, yeah. So there's kind of the short answer there. For the MACD, I suggest changing to points. Of course, you could work in ticks. That gives you a much finer increment. Right, it gives you a much finer incremental scale, measuring distance. Yeah, right. Yeah. Also, Bill, what I would suggest, to go into more detail and see some more examples on the slope solver, what I would suggest is let's go to the documentation here, right? So from help, go to documentation. And under BloodHound, and then under the solvers, the confidence solvers, let's see, here's the slope solver. Let's click on the slope solver. So here's the documentation for the slope solver. If we scroll down, there's a video here. So this video will also give you a thorough explanation of how of how this maximum and minimum slope parameters work there, right? So, and it'll also kind of teach you how these different outputs operate as well, right? So there we go. So there's a little video specifically on the slope solver. So, all right, so let's see. With that, let me see what else. I think Bill's got some comments on here. All right, so Bill was using the NQ. All right. All right, no, I don't see any new comments from Bill. So, all right, so the training video on the slope solver will help you out. Try switching from ticks to points. That should help you out. But also keep in mind, every instrument changes the scaling of the MACD significantly. As I've kind of demonstrated when I went from oil to the YM to the NQ. So a suggestion here is try using the PPO, right? The percent price oscillator. This is actually the PPO is actually the MACD. It's the same as the MACD. And let me check my settings here. All right, so I just want the main PPO plot on. I turn the smooth off. So the smooth would be the same as the MACD average, right? The MACD average is the smoothing, right? Excuse me. If you notice, the PPO has the exact same settings. Well, actually, let's see, 12, 26, 9. Let's put the same settings in here. 12, 26, 9. But if you notice, the names are the same. Fast, slow, smooth. Right? MACD, fast, slow, smooth. So the PPO is the same formula as the MACD. However, let's move this up. I have to scale everything. So look, see how it looks exactly the same? But the PPO is what's the right word? It's adjusted to the tick size of the instrument. So the PPO is normalized to the instrument. So let's see here. Let's take a look. So the PPO here is 0.03, right? We have a max value of 0.3, and let's change instruments. Let's go back to the oil, right? Really small price level. And there's still, actually this also could just because the oil just hasn't moved enough, but you notice here, oil is, we got up to 0.1, right? So we're still in the decimal range here, 0.5, 0.1. Let's see, what was NQ again? 0.03, yeah, 0.03 for the NQ. So the PPO kind of stays in a more normalized kind of range. Let's go to the YM here. Check that out. So we're, YM's 25,000, and yeah, again, so the PPO has a max value of 0.03, right? So the PPO is a little more normalized. It doesn't have the huge changes in scaling that the MACD does, right? So there you go. The MACD the PPO might help you a little better, but just keep in mind when you're using the MACD, let's get. Oh, sorry, I want to get BloodHound open here. So, so when you're looking at slopes, when you're looking at slopes for the MACD or any instrument, where its scaling can change dramatically based on the instrument's price, you just got to keep in mind that you'll have different slope values for each instrument that you want to run your BloodHound system on. So, let's see here. Frank's got a question commenting on this MACD versus PPO indicator and normalizing values, normalizing indicator values per instrument pricing. So Frank is asking, could normalizing be done by feeding the indicator value into another indicator? So I guess like taking the MACD and feeding it into a normalizing indicator and nesting it using a nesting process in BloodHound. Yes, absolutely, that could be done. Yep. Yep. If you, you could code yourself an indicator that all it does is normalize whatever other indicator you feed into it. That can be done, definitely. So, you could probably just make a copy of the PPO and rip out the MACD formula and just leave the normalizing formula in there. So, that definitely sounds like something that could be done, and that would work just fine in BloodHound. Yeah. So, all right. Well, with that, ladies and gentlemen, I'll wrap this workshop up, and I'll see you guys tomorrow. All right. Thanks. Have a good one, and have a good 2018. All right. See you guys tomorrow. Bye-bye.